River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. Dan here along with Eric. No Mr. Jimmy B today, but Eric, how are we doing?
Living the dream.
Yeah, absolutely. Got no stress in the world right now. We already had good news.
No stress in the world at all.
For Niners news, at least, we got Robert Saleh. We don't have to worry about any contracts yet. We didn't watch the Pro Bowl, I mean, for being honest, but, like, who cares? When there are a bunch of fifth stringers, the way that J.J. Watt wrote.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Pro Bowl, but I am happy that the NFL has seemingly found a format that works for them. We went through a lot of years, I mean, really seemingly like probably almost a decade of the Pro Bowl being basically meaningless and nobody at all caring because the players didn't want to play and you had just everybody opting out. So, you got down to guys that were Pro Bowl starters that were like, the 10th alternate or whatever. And, the players weren't playing, the players weren't trying. It was just a really bad product on the field. And, again, I didn't watch it. I went to see a movie in the movie theater. But and that was just because my kids were here this weekend. If I would have been here by myself, I probably would have tuned in, to be honest.
Sure.
But I'm happy that they seemingly have at least found a format that works for them, that the players seem engaged and energized by. I mean, I saw them, they're really having a good time on the field with it. They're doing flips into the end zone and all sorts of fun stuff. And so, I mean, I think that's good for the game. I think that's good for the NFL. I like the engagement of that. I saw one of the players said that, they really like the format because it allows them to show off, their own individual skills, their own individual ability, and their own individuality in terms of, being able to showcase themselves because they're not under all the helmets and the gear and all of that stuff. And so, I'm glad that they have something that, it's not quite on par with, the Major League Baseball week or All-Star game or NBA All-Star weekend, which I think is probably still the king of the All-Star weekends or whatever. But, it's resurrected itself from the dead of where it was. So I'll give the NFL credit for that, for being willing to try something completely different and be, think outside of the box and prepare our athletes for the Olympics.
Yeah. Well, it's taking a page out of the MLB and the NBA. Like, you can still long ago are the days of you have to do what used to happen on Madden, which is where people would rather watch it anyway. Because again, like you said, the players don't care. And the highlights I saw from our team, like Nick Bosa doing the walking contest, was hilarious. And the 3-on-3 or not 3-on-3, the flag football game looked like it was a lot of fun from the highlights I saw. And the throwing competition's always interesting with the quarterbacks. And it's like splitting the difference. I'm sure it'll evolve and get more engaging. Like, maybe they'll introduce some more like fan engagement on top of the actual players having fun. Like, because I have no doubt, like, I'm sure it's all sincere that the players enjoy. They get to go to Orlando and they get to network with other players that had really objectively good years outside of getting to the big game. Mm-hmm. And no, I agree with you. I think it's good that the NFL is still trying, because that's something I never wanted to go away. Like, I didn't want the Pro Bowl to go away. I didn't want the honor to go away. But I understood, like, when the players don't care about $20,000 for winning the game and $10,000 for losing. Like,
Yeah, I think they got what, like 96 and like 40, whatever the half of 96 is, 43.
Yeah.
Or no, 48. Well, whatever. Math.
And you're risking an injury that could compromise the next year. Like, I
Yeah.
completely get it. Like, so if we want to do that, there's the Pro Bowl simulation on Madden. Like, we just have to accept that's it. And
Yeah.
no, I think the Pro Bowl the way it is now is a good thing. And if I was living in Orlando like I was 10 years ago, you bet your ass I would have been a field reporter for us. Like,
Yeah.
I'd have
Yeah.
gone there in a heartbeat. That'd have been so much fun.
Yeah, and it actually works now, being the week in between the conference final and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like before, back in the day, the Pro Bowl was always after the Super Bowl. It was just kind of this weird sort of afterthought, that happens after the Super Bowl. But now that it's this sort of a fun format and this energy weekend and sort of just a hype thing, it really works really well that they do sort of that. They do the honors show, and the award show, and then they do the Pro Bowl thing, and then it rolls kind of right into Super Bowl week, and it just makes for a really good experience. And I think the NFL has done a really good job with just transitioning that whole thing over and making it into something more than what it was before.
That makes my brain can't compute doing the Pro Bowl after the Super Bowl. Like, who the hell would care when the Super Bowl was over? Like,
Yeah.
Even when it was a football game in Hawaii. Like,
Yeah.
who the hell would care? That's so dumb.
Yeah.
But alas, we didn't watch any of it. That's all we can really
NFC
about
won
it.
though. Woo!
Go NFC. And we had 5 people there. Very, very proud of those guys. They did have great seasons, and hopefully Kyle will come back. Hopefully Juszczyk will come back. But but alas, what do we have to talk about? Again, like I said, no Niners news, unfortunately. But in lieu of doing a big game preview, we have to be cognizant of getting sued. Like my thumbnail, we can say Super Bowl up to like during the regular season, but yeah, I always have to remind myself, like, when it's actually the big game, you got to say the big game. Like,
that's so ridiculous.
It is stupid.
I would be honored if the NFL would sue us, because that means that they listen.
That would be. We made it if we got a cease and desist from the NFL because we called it a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of that.
Well, we will save our big game superb owl. I also love Super Bowl, like a
Super owl.
Yeah, no, oh my god. What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, Nandor, the main character, misunderstood that he was going to a Super Bowl party, and he thought it was a superb owl party. It was so funny.
Nice.
But in RIP to that show too. It just ended this summer, and it was amazing. Go on Hulu and watch it.
Okay, I'll do that.
But anyway, this is not a What We Do in the Shadows podcast. We are going to be talking about. We'll talk about the Super Bowl on our Friday episode, obviously. So in lieu of that, we haven't really touched base on the current status of all these head coaching hires. Like we briefly mentioned when Ben Johnson got hired and a couple other ones, but now we're going to dedicate the next 40 so minutes to this little write-up I made. These are obviously this isn't the end all be all. There's a couple of assistant coaches on here. I didn't deep dive, but these are the big head coaching hires that have, and in one case, did not happen as of February 3rd at 7:00 Eastern time. So for people that are just listening, YouTube, I have the list up here, but for listeners, the Bears have their head coach in Ben Johnson from the Lions, and they have hired Dennis Allen to be his DC to Ben Johnson being OC, obviously. The Raiders have hired Pete Carroll, and Pete has brought Chip Kelly in as his OC. So 2 Pac-10 alumni coming together in Vegas. The Patriots, we have our thoughts on how they did their previous coach dirty and replaced him with Mr. Mike Vrabel, which objectively, I'll just go ahead and spoil. I think it's a great hire. And they brought in Josh McDaniels again for the 7th stint he's had with them.
Yeah, keep turning up.
The Jets poached Aaron Glenn from the Detroit Lions to be their head coach. I did not see an OC yet. or if they even changed OCs. The Jags, they got Liam Cohen, and that whole debacle, if you heard about how big a mess that was to get Liam Cohen from the Bucks, if not, I will gladly regale you with that story because that was a lot of fun. The Cowboys settled, and I'm not joking, they settled with Brian Schottenheimer, the least exciting of this list, which is why it's at the bottom. And then take note that the Saints still, as of February 3rd, do not have a head coach to replace Dennis Allen, who, again, got to be the DC in Chicago. So I have no... This is a free flow. This is a list. What name sticks out to you? And just cut off at like 40-ish minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's exciting to see Pete Carroll back in the NFL.
Couldn't agree more.
He really took the Seahawks franchise from something that was a bit of a laughing stock and turned that around into a pretty legitimate powerhouse. I mean, obviously he didn't do it on his own. He had great assistance there while he was there. But he had a lot of influence in hiring them. He did a lot with the player personnel there. He built a really fascinating and effective culture there for the organization. So I'm intrigued by what he can do with the Raiders. I think that he has the right personality to lead that team. And I think that if they can figure out a couple of things on the personnel end, one of them especially being quarterback, that he might make that into something pretty quickly there. We could end up having really two divisions in, I guess two divisions, I'll say, in the AFC, in the AFC North, which is always pretty competitive from top to bottom. But we might end up having two divisions in the AFC that are pretty competitive from top to bottom, because you've got the AFC North, which is still going to have the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, and then, God love them, the Browns have got to get their crap together at some point in time. So, you've at least got 3 out of 4 teams competitive there. But then you could have an AFC West that has the Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders all very competitive as well. So, I mean, it could really be a shifting in a real imbalance of, I won't say like an imbalance of power, but you could have a lot of teams really kind of banging it out for playoff positioning in the AFC if he's able to elevate the Raiders up to that next level. And, a couple of these other teams that we suspect are going to get better, like the Chargers, the Patriots should get better. We'll talk about them as we get to Mike Vrabel and stuff like that. But, the AFC could really be kind of a powerhouse conference here, coming up in the next couple of years if these new coaches are able to turn these teams around. So we'll see.
The AFC West, I only have a little to add to that. Like the AFC West, I completely agree, at least where we're at this far away from August, September. The AFC West could be one hell of a division next year. We get Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh going at it twice a year again. 10 years later, 2.0. Now it's Raiders versus Chargers.
Yeah.
That is really exciting. I'm thrilled that Pete Carroll still thinks he can coach. And obviously this got the blessing of Tom Brady and that whole conflict of interest now that he's a broadcaster and an at least like co-owner. He's not above Mike Davis, but or Mark Davis. But he obviously gave his blessing to hire Pete Carroll. So I'm thrilled for him. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it'd be interesting if he brings Russell Wilson in, if he can poach him from the Steelers or Justin Fields, either of them, since they're the same quarterback. Just one's a 10-year-old newer model car, so to say. The only thing I just don't like about this is that Chip Kelly's going to be the OC. I'm really, really not thrilled about that. He had like one and a half good years with the Eagles, and then he was terrible with us, and then he flamed out with the Eagles. Like, cool, you did fine with I forgot he was at Ohio State. I thought he was with UCLA, but
yeah.
But I mean, cool if Pete believes in you. I don't know. Pardon me while I hold my breath and be bitter about the 2017 we had with you, or 2016 we had with you. That was just awful.
Well, I mean, I don't really know how great of an offensive coordinator he is either. I mean, speaking from the Ohio State perspective, I mean, it's probably pretty easy to be an offensive coordinator when you have gobs of 5-star talent at every position on the field. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it's probably not too difficult, but I mean, they did, scheme up enough stuff to, be contenders and be really good last year. And then obviously you go all the way to the national championship that's hanging on your wall behind you this year. So, I mean,
his philosophy could have drastically changed. Like, instead of that fast tempo, like, that's the main thing I remember from our Niner year was like
yeah,
his defense was consistently, like his last year with Philly and with us, the offense was at like number 32 in terms of like time on the field.
yeah, because
Like,
everything
because it
was
was
just go, 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 go.
yeah, and shocker, that's a bunch of 3 and outs.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I'm excited about Pete Carroll, and like you alluded to, I mean, like now in that division, you're going to have Andy Reid, who's going to be a Hall of Fame coach. You've got Sean Payton, who I don't know if he'll be a Hall of Fame coach, but he's certainly a Hall of pretty good coach.
He sure turned the Broncos around this year.
Yeah. You've got Jim Harbaugh, who probably not a Hall of Fame coach, but
should turn around the Chargers next year.
Yeah, but definitely is in the Hall of pretty good. And you've got Pete Carroll, who's also, very, very good head coach. So, I mean, you've got 4 really big name head coaches in that division. So that's going to be really interesting the whole time.
Let's talk about let's talk about the Bears. Like,
yeah, I knew you were going to go to the Bears. I knew you were going to go to the Bears.
If we're just going to go down this list, I mean, I got the story about Liam Cohen, but I can make that super quick. But I don't know. I've waxed poetic about the Bears, like, and also terrible disappointment and how awful the year went. And I was very, very happy they got rid of Matt Eberflus. Honestly, just taking it at face value, I know McCuskey's still McCaskey, however you pronounce her name. I know she's still the owner, but I don't know. I really, really hope, because I do genuinely love this GM that they have there. I love the GM of the Bears right now. I think he's a great guy. I thought he did a lot of really great roster building last year. I thought he drafted very, very well last year. But just I didn't want to believe it, but Eberflus was just not the guy. And like, they got rid of him. And now they got Ben Johnson, a guy that's a brilliant offensive mind. But it's not just that when you're a head coach. You got to be a culture setter as much as you are a play caller for whatever side of the ball you represent. But he's a great offensive mind. Hopefully he got through osmosis something from Dan Campbell in Detroit, the 3 or 4 years he was there. And then Dennis Allen is there, which his tenure with the Raiders sucked as a head coach. And his tenure objectively not as bad, but also still sucked as a Saints coach. But this guy knows defense. Mm-hmm. So I want to give him the benefit that he still knows defense well enough to, at worst, be in the top half. Like, at worst, be in the top half. Because if the offense finally reaches its potential, your defense doesn't have to be top 5. Your defense just has to be adequate, as proof by the Lions, even though they didn't get the Super Bowl. But my point notwithstanding, if your defense is adequate and the offense is excellent, or the other way around, if your offense is adequate and your defense is top 5, like, maybe I'm just trying to wish into existence that this actually works. So my dad, bless his soul, can finally be happy in the afterlife that the Bears turned it around. But like, I see at face value getting Ben Johnson, and I'm so glad they did that instead of Mike McCarthy. I'm so glad. And then Dennis Allen, like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because his head coaching tenure, sure, but like, he had to have been that smart as of a defensive coordinator to be a head coach. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll stop rambling there, but like, I like these hires and I really want them to work out.
Yeah, I don't dislike these hires. I mean, I'll start with Dennis Allen first, because he's the easiest one. I mean, as a defensive coordinator, he's been good in the past. So, I mean, I think that's a good hire for them. I think that, all 3 of these guys on this list have been head coaches before, and they've all failed and sucked miserably. So, I mean, like, there's a history of, offensive and defensive coordinators that, it's the progression. They they do well. They try to go up and be a head coach, and they're just not head coach material. But when they come back and they move back down to being a coordinator, they are wildly successful.
Look at James's DC right now.
Yeah. I mean, Spagnuolo is another example. I mean, he was a terrible head coach, and he's a fantastic defensive coordinator. So, I mean, I think Dennis Allen can do a really good job as a defensive coordinator there. I mean, you hit on it a little bit there in terms of the osmosis thing. I mean, Ben Johnson just needs to be able to come in and set the culture there. I don't feel, and I didn't watch a ton of Bears games. I did watch a little bit, but, in the Bears games that I watched, the Bears games that I saw, that culture there doesn't look like it's very good. You have players on that team that look like they quit on some plays. You have players that look like they weren't interested in some plays. You have players that look like they certainly quit on the interim head coach when they brought him in.
God, that poor man.
Yeah.
That poor guy.
So, I mean, I just question the culture there, and I just don't know enough about Ben Johnson and about his personality to know if he is the guy that can come in and take hold of that organization and turn it around, or if it's going to be this first season we go, ooh, okay, yeah, that didn't work. And then you see him sort of clean house after year one, right? Where he's just like, okay, tried it with you guys. You guys didn't listen, didn't work. You got to go, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go. And he starts moving people out. So I won't be at all surprised if that's what that looks like from the Bears organization. I think the other thing that we're going to see is we're going to really see just how good of a quarterback Caleb Williams really is. Because, Jared Goff isn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got it up here. And that's been the question that a lot of people have had on Caleb Williams is, does he have it? Does he have it up here? So we're going to find out pretty fast if he has it up there in the brain or not. And
you can't be 22-year-old rookie anymore, dude. Like, it's time to step up.
Yeah. And it's going to be time to find out if he can really lead this offense, because Ben Johnson's going to put in a lot of complex stuff and ask a lot of him and expect him to do a lot for this team. And it's just going to be a matter of whether or not he can accomplish that or not. So we're going to find out pretty quickly if he's capable of doing that or not.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's an intriguing situation. They're going to be one of those teams next year that's going to be really interesting to watch and keep an eye on. Yeah,
we'll obviously not get the offseason hype award like they got this year, but
no.
But again, God. I think objectively, these are really, really good hires.
Yes.
And I really pray for the best for Ben Johnson. I hope he can come in and like straighten it out and get this team to consistently play like they did when they played in Germany, and then just completely crap the bed after that, or London, whichever city they went to.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one coach on this list that's a bad hire. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, since we're going through it, like, I don't want to dedicate this entirely to like, I do feel bad for Mayo. I do feel bad, and I think that would be a fascinating conversation, like really getting in the weeds on it when we get James back. But like, aside from doing it dirty, like, okay, Mr. Kraft, you clearly want to bring back some variant of the Patriot way. Mike Vrabel played for you during the first half of that dynasty. Josh McDaniels, he probably just sublet his house, like
just put it on Airbnb for a while.
He always ends up coming back. So like, and no, I talked to my Patriots insider, and he reminded me that like, if Josh McDaniels doesn't do more than come up with plays, he's perfectly fine. Like, he is just a awful head coach. Just have him call out offensive plays and he's fine. And then we all know what Mike Vrabel can do, what he did with Tennessee. Like, I don't care that they had Derrick Henry. It was more than just Derrick Henry to get to the AFC Championship. Like, that's just a stupid thing to say. Not you, but so no, like, feelings about Gerard Mayo getting done dirty aside, like, I understand where Robert Kraft is coming from to go to Mike Vrabel. Like, not if you just look at it like that. That's all I mean. So congrats Patriots. This was a massive, massive get for you guys. And good luck with free agency. Hopefully you get some extra pieces for Mike to play with. He will certainly attract some people now he's your coach.
Yeah. I think this is one of is this the hardest one? Probably between this one and the Jets, really, is probably the two hardest positions that guys got plucked into, in my opinion, personally. The Patriots cupboard is just pretty bare. I mean, Drake May looked good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. For a rookie quarterback, he looked pretty good.
His best receiver was a guy named Jake Booty, I think. I know his Booty. I forget his first name.
Yeah. But, the rest of that team is just not really starting NFL caliber. So Vrabel's going to have his work cut out for him. Now, I think that he can get a lot out of the talent that's there, but they're still probably 2 or 3 years out from being, kind of back in the mix and being contenders there. And that's not going to be a slight on him. It's just that they're coming from so far down. But he's going to have the luxury of, the fact that Kraft is going to give him plenty of time to turn the team around. He's not going to be on a short hook. He's going to get a full 3-4 years to make progress and see what he can do. And I think, he'll ultimately end up having success there. And I don't think he's going to restore them to the heights of the Patriots dynasty of before by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he'll make them a respectable franchise again.
Yeah, I completely agree. It will probably be a rocky year, but I think Robert, like, again, it's just we can argue the disrespect to Jordan Mayo only giving him 1 year, even though he came from the same Patriot way that Mike Vrabel did, literally the same damn team.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Mike Vrabel's proven record with Tennessee, I can't blame him. I kind of get it, but yeah.
I feel,
it's still going to be a rough year. But we're going to get.
Yeah, Mayo got really shafted on that whole deal, and I mean, like I said, we can do a whole.
And it's still going to be a rough year for Mike Vrabel, and it's going to be, it's his first year, and Drake May is only a sophomore, and look at the lack of skill players. Like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah. But I mean, I think his situation is not great. I think Aaron Glenn's situation is not great either, because
good segue.
He doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, I don't see Aaron Rodgers coming back to this particular team. I mean, all of the communication and everything that's sort of come out of that organization has been bad. So I don't see a way that Aaron Rodgers is coming back there. And really, even Aaron Rodgers, when he was there last year, except for the last 4 games of the season last year, he was terrible. So I think Aaron Glenn is a good hire in terms of culture. I think he's going to come in and really set a tone and set a directive and get guys back in alignment with the organization and get everybody marching in the right direction again. Yeah. But I think in terms of having a good team, there are pieces there. I mean, he's still got Garrett Wilson. He's still got Sauce. He's still got Breece Hall. They've still got a couple other guys on defense who are really, really good. So, I mean, there's pieces and parts there, but anytime you don't have the guy as quarterback, I think you're really going to struggle. Now, that could be a place that Kirk Cousins ends up going to, because he's still going to need a landing spot. And that seems to me like
he's going to be a post-June 1. If he's not already, he's going to be a post-June 1st cut.
Yeah. And so, I mean, landing at the Jets could be a place where he, kind of tries to salvage the rest of his career and gives the Jets somebody who, theoretically is a good, stable, easy, quarterback to sort of plug and play into an organization. And I mean, he's going to make them, decent right out of the gate. I mean, he'd be better than Rodgers was.
The defense shouldn't really. I didn't write it down.
I don't know. Cousins was really bad there at the end. I forgot for a second there.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm glad that we're both taking the approach of we're assuming Aaron's gone unless we know otherwise.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett is gone. I did just do some brief Googling. Nathaniel Hackett is going to be gone. So that's Aaron's best friend. So that leans into the direction that Aaron is going to retire, which good riddance if he does. I don't care if he comes
back. You think he retires, or do you think he's going someplace else?
He didn't
strike me that he was ready to retire.
it is really kind of unpredictable. I guess I shouldn't say retire, but being with the Jets, I'll stop there. Like being with the Jets, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially with Nathaniel Hackett gone, because who they do have, what I mean by the defense is going to be fine between Aaron Glenn and they hired Steve Wilkes as the actual DC.
Yeah.
Aces, two fantastic defensive coaches.
Yeah.
And then they've hired Tanner Ingstrad. I really don't think that's how you say his last name, but he was a passing game coordinator for the Lions. So Aaron basically poached him from Dan Campbell. So there's going to be definitely some of that same Lions blood getting injected into this, the way that the Bears are hoping to. They just got the passing game coordinator, not the actual OC.
Okay, but then so that leans even more into, because I just spawned this theory while we were talking, but I mean that leans even more into the whole Kirk Cousins theory, because you just need a guy back there who's like smart and can run a bunch of like play action stuff, right? And just chop over the middle, and like Cousins should be able to do that if he's not throwing it to the other team.
And if they do that, it won't be an actual like super hard reset, because again, like assuming Aaron is going to be gone, until I see otherwise, Aaron's gone, especially with Hackett gone. No, you got two brilliant defensive coaches. You still got a majority of that defensive roster under contract that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Like, unless Saul is able to poach some people for us. DJ Reed, that'd be wonderful to replace Travarius Ward.
Yeah.
Or Sauce if he wants to get traded, even though we'd have to pay him and that would suck.
Okay.
But no, it really shouldn't be like, I don't know, maybe they still end up middling at like 9-8 or 8-9, but that's better than the 5 wins they had last year.
And the year before, and the year before, and the year before.
And honestly, getting rid of Rodgers should be good for that culture. It doesn't get rid of Woody Johnson. He's still a terrible owner.
Yeah.
Like, I would rank him above Jim Irsay at this rate, like as the worst. Or no, take that back. Panthers owner.
Yeah.
I put him second behind the Panthers owner.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. Hopefully he's easy to deal with. Like I don't envy him being in that position, but he earned this opportunity, and I hope it goes well for him.
We're gonna have to do a show where we take free agents and like pick where we think they're gonna land before free agency starts.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely gonna happen before we got like 3 weeks to do that before, so that'll be a good one. Yeah. I will take the brief lead on this one. The Liam Cohen story. Did you follow any of what was going on with Liam Cohen?
Well, I know that he like interviewed and then backed out and then basically was like, I like the job, but I really hate your GM. So if you fire him, then I'm really interested in the job again. And they were like, really? Cool, Bucky, you're out. And then he came back.
Okay, so like that alleged, I'm gonna put I should put a big allegedly on this.
Can you put the scroll up? Allegedly.
Oh my god, I probably could make that real quick. Allegedly. Is that how you spell it?
Sure.
Allegedly. I'm
not very good at spelling.
I'm gonna make sure that's spelled right first for alleged purposes. Oh no, that was right. Okay, it didn't correct me. So scroller, boom. There we go. Allegedly.
I love it.
All right, so allegedly the way that it went was, yes, that part is objectively true. He was ready to leave Tampa for a head coaching opportunity because of what he did with Baker, kind of like how the Panthers coach did.
Yeah.
But like you said, he allegedly didn't like Trent Baalke. And so that's when he went back to Tampa, and he verbally agreed with Tampa to a certain contract extension that was going to make him the highest paid OC in the league, which is interesting that we don't get to know those numbers because that's not against the cap. So that's why they hide them. Because they're not against the cap. You can pay a coach whatever the hell you want. Like that's kind of the fun part of that. But you have to pay it all. So he agrees to be the highest paid OC in the league and go to Tampa. But he and his team got word that the Jaguars ended up firing Trent Baalke, allegedly to sway Liam back. And so he catches wind of that, and he hightails it back to Jacksonville, and apparently was just sending Tampa straight to voicemail because he didn't put ink on the paper in Tampa. So... And so he pissed off Tampa to go back to Jacksonville instead of give them the credit of like, hey, so like he basically did them dirty like Josh McDaniels did to to Indy a couple years ago.
Oh my
That's
God.
allegedly what the story was.
Wow, that's bad.
Yeah,
That's
so take that back down now. So I don't know. I do like Liam Cohen. I liked following Tampa this year. I guess the caveat, I hope all these go well for everybody, but like this one really kind of gives me the ick. Not as much of an ick as the Cowboys one, but I'm not entirely convinced that Liam Cohen is the answer. Like, not just because of that like that stupid video that's gone around, but like, I don't know. I just get this weird vibe that like working with Shad Khan and now you don't know who the GM is. As of February 3rd, they haven't hired a GM yet. And like, yeah, you got a couple really good players on there, but like, is this guy like, is he going to do for Trevor what he did for Baker? Can Trevor reach that level? Is fair to ask now going into year, 5 or 6? I don't know. I get kind of an ick on this one. You do too?
Yeah, I mean, anytime that somebody thinks that highly of themselves, it gives me the ick because I'm somebody that wants like humility and sort of I guess class in my people, and none of those things that he did there speaks to that. I mean, I get, that you want the opportunity and you want things to go a certain way, but I mean, to kind of go back and forth like that and then just basically, bitch button your other team that you already gave a commitment to because, the other girl over here has, gotten prettier all of a sudden.
She dumped her boy. She dumped her. She dumped her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And to add to it, Tampa's already literally told Liam that he couldn't interview literally any of the offensive staff in Tampa.
Well, yeah. So I mean,
which no duh. Like,
yeah. So when it gets messy like that, I'm just not a fan. I mean, I would say the same thing about Josh McDaniels for everything that he did. I mean, it was just a lot of no class involved there. And when you think that highly of yourself like that, I just don't think that things traditionally go well for you. And I mean, if we're looking at this list of coaches, somebody on this list is going to flame out, right? I mean, not everybody on here is going to be successful. So, I mean, if I had to guess, Pete Carroll and Mike Vrabel aren't going to flame out. Ben Johnson seems like he probably will have success, maybe.
Liam and Aaron I would put as the most likely. Ben definitely needs to be kind of shaky ground.
Yeah.
Once we know the Raiders quarterback, that's when I will decide about Pete. Just because I respect him that much as a coach. I just need to see who his quarterback's going to be first. And then Mike, I don't know, flame out when my expectations are already so low. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm just saying when we sit here 4 or 5 years from now, who I think is still going to be a head coach, Liam Cohen and Brian Schottenheimer are not on my list.
Yeah. Like, good segue into Schottenheimer. Like, he's just been a career assistant coach, right? Like, I'll admit he was where I kind of got shortchanged on doing my homework. Like, how familiar are you with Schottenheimer?
He's just a career assistant coach.
So, offensive guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's Marty's kid. So, I mean, like, you're expecting to do really, really well in the regular season, get to the playoffs and suck. So, I mean, that's the Cowboy way. All right. Woo. I mean, I don't know what more you can ask out of that. So, I mean, he hasn't really done anything or been spectacular. He hasn't been a hot commodity. He hasn't been a hot hire. He hasn't been a big name that's been mentioned. I mean, like you said in the opening, the Cowboys really sort of settled. I mean, I don't know what
well, this happened because they couldn't agree on a length of contract with Mike McCarthy. Like, I don't know if Mike wanted 5 and they were only offering him 3, but apparently the length of contract was the reason that Mike is not still the coach of the Cowboys. Like, they really tried to re-sign him. And that's always weird to me when the length of contract is the deal breaker. Like, what the hell? Like,
well, I mean, if I'm Mike McCarthy, I want as long of a contract as I can possibly get because I know that I'm going to get fired somewhere into that contract, and I want as much guaranteed money as I can possibly have.
Fair.
So, I mean, you got to realize that. I mean, he probably realizes he's only going to coach 1 or 2 more years out of that contract, and he's going to get fired because they're not going to go anywhere. So, I mean,
because their idea of going all in is not signing anybody. Like.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think Schottenheimer is going to go anywhere. I don't think that team has. I mean, it's the Cowboys. I mean,
No, this is
what do you more do you have to say about that? I mean, it's just
it's the least inspiring for sure out of all these coaching hirings. Like I don't
yeah.
no one's gonna get fired after these playoffs, like unless they decide to like quit. Like no one's getting fired in the play. Like so these are pretty much like set. So let us ponder why the Saints one is still open. Like if it feels like a mystery, I don't think it's a particularly. I don't think it's a big mystery. Your quarterback situation's a mess. Your cap situation's a mess. Your GM is not going anywhere. The owner is in love with this GM that sure had a couple good years, but like overall has not been doing great. Especially again, you've been in cap hell since Drew Brees retired, even a couple years with Drew Brees. So like you can't really finesse anybody to come in with a big contract because you can't offer them a big contract.
I mean, are they waiting on somebody on either the Eagles or the Chiefs to be done so they can offer them a contract? Is that what they're waiting on? I mean, are they waiting on Spags or are they waiting on Kellen Moore or somebody?
Kellen Moore is the rumor. Like that's what because I saw Kellen Moore. I think he had a second interview. I think he's had a second interview by the time we're taping this with the Saints.
Okay, so I mean, maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but
so
I mean,
it's not my teeing up of this is a terrible situation to go to.
It is a terrible situation to go to. But I mean, if you got the opportunity to be a head coach, you're still probably going to take a terrible situation just to be a head coach, right? I mean,
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be
because again, you're getting that guaranteed coach money. I mean, like, why would you not do it, right? You're gonna, sure, I'll sign for $5 million for 4 years at $20 million guaranteed contract. Sure, no problem. Oh, we sucked and you fired me after 2 years. Oh darn.
And it's not gonna be Spags. Spags is not gonna leave. He's gonna retire before he leaves, I bet. It's not gonna be Fangio. Fangio does not want to be a head coach again.
Oh god, he was bad.
Yeah, he does not want to be a head coach again. Especially like I remember James was telling us about how he specifically wanted to be a DC in Philly because of like being close to family.
Oh, okay.
And to tie into that, like he's good not being a head coach ever again.
Yeah.
Especially for his age. I say that with Pete Carroll on this. So no, it's like for real, all kidding aside how I set this up, like it's apparently Kellen Moore's to lose.
Well, I mean,
like it's just a matter of when he signs after the Super Bowl.
I don't hate Derek Carr as much as a lot of people do. I don't think he's terrible. Alvin Kamara is good. Chris Olave is good. He just is.
Well, how much longer is he still gonna? Yeah, how much longer is he still gonna play?
Yeah,
he's still got a concussion with the Guardian cap in what, like week 17?
Yeah, something like that. So I don't know. I mean, but they are in cap hell. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But it'll be interesting. He's an interesting name, I guess. But
like he's really come on. Like I still remember surprisingly him being a backup for Dallas, and
yeah.
It being surprising that like he wanted to get into coaching, and like he's kind of really shot up pretty fast for how long he's been coaching, which has not been that long.
No, he's only been a coach for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and he's already about to get poached to be the head coach for what's now left, the Saints.
Yeah,
which I mean, you take the head coaching opportunity when it's there, like. Yeah. Like you get to, you have to eat crap for a year, but if it all goes right,
everybody got to start somewhere, my man. Everybody got to start somewhere.
Yeah, we ate dog crap for 2 years, and then we made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
under Kyle.
Yeah,
so. But no, I don't know. It'll be. I guess we'll have more to say about that when it's officially Kellen Moore. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty safe to say it's his job to lose.
I would say so.
Unless there's some magical assistant that comes in out of nowhere. Also, real quick shout out to Eric Bieniemy is finally back in the league. I forgot to write him in the Chicago line because he's going to be the running back coach in Chicago, which I don't know. We talked a little bit about it in our private chat, but
he must be a pain in the ass, man.
Right. I remember the rumors 2 years ago before he went to. Oh, I was conflating him and Chip Kelly because he went to UCLA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. It was 3 years ago, and then he ended up staying with Kansas City, and then 2 years ago when he left, and then like a month went by, and it was like, damn, he's still not hired yet, and it was like, oh yeah, he's going to UCLA. Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
You're the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Like, what happened?
Yeah, we must not interview very well. That's the only thing I can think, because he was riding high and he was the hot commodity and everybody wanted to hire him. And then all of a sudden it was just crickets.
Yeah. Kind of like, I guess too, we can mention too that the Texans OC, you want to talk about another guy, a rising star that fell from grace. Did you see that the Texans fired their OC?
No,
Yeah, no.
Oh wait, isn't that Slovak or whatever his name is?
Something's oh my gosh, I'll pull it up here. Texans OC. They Bobby Slovic.
Yeah.
Slowick.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I apologies for pronouncing that wrong. If any
That's
Texans
okay.
fans are listening. Yeah, no. Remember, he was supposed to be a hot commodity to either get poached as a offensive coordinator still or a head coach. And the rumor mill, I'll just do allegedly again. Like
we need to save this banner for all the times that we said so.
Yes, I need to add some asterisks. I'll add some asterisks on it. But no, the it's not too hard to add the stars there. There we go. Yeah, allegedly, like he and Deshaun, not Deshaun, Jesus Christ. CJ. Yeah, apparently he and CJ like really just were going at it like as the season went on. That's allegedly.
Oh, wow.
I've not fingered on the pulse on the Texans, but the couple things that pop up on my feed here and there, apparently like he and CJ's relationship was really, really bad. Like, especially as the season just went not great, like as it kept going on.
Yeah.
I mean, how good's your season going to be when Nico's out for a month with a concussion and Stephon breaks his leg and then Tank breaks his leg again? Like, you still have to make it work, obviously, but like, I don't know. But now that the fact that like he's still on the streets, like he wasn't signed somewhere like in 72 hours after he got fired, that's pretty surprising.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, and the fact that he wasn't even in the head coaching carousel now, like he's by our list, he completely missed it.
Yep. Yeah.
But no, just open off with the allegedly. That's apparently what happened. We'll see more come out whenever he gets hired. I have not taken the time to look at all 32 teams to make sure they all have an offensive coordinator, or if he's going to have to sign as like a passing coordinator, like one of those lower positions.
Yeah.
But I think with that, we have gone through the coaching carousel, and we need to give a shout out to our sponsor, going on through 2-3 years, one of those years, RoyalRetros.com. What is RoyalRetros.com? It is your go-to place to get yourself an authentic throwback jersey. Whether you are a football fan, basketball fan, baseball fan, they cover all of the major sports with their retro jerseys. And for us Bay Area fans, go check out the Candlestick collection. It's curated with us in mind. Giants gear for baseball, Niners for football. And when you find something you like, use the promo code Shady Sports, and that will get you 10% off of your entire order, not just like special items. Your entire order, you get 10% off with the promo code Shady Sports. When you use that at checkout, it helps us out at Niner Nuts. It helps out the whole Shady Sports Network. One more time, use the promo code Shady Sports to get 10% off of your order at RoyalRetros.com. Go get yourself an authentic throwback jersey today. Also, we are selling t-shirts. James is so much better at this than I am, but we have decided to sell t-shirts for charity. And how were we inspired by this? We were inspired at first by the antics of one Daniel Snyder, and we looked into pretty much every owner has some skeletons in their closet, and if it does get reported, it gets reported well after the fact, versus we find out the day of when a player steps out of line or fails a drug test or something far less bad than what an owner can get away with, or even like a lower tier owner like the Houston Texans minority owner when he got in trouble. We found that out way after the fact too. So not only were we inspired to start this hashtag owner accountability, owner standards over player standards, because we think they need to be held to an even higher standard than them, we're putting our money where our mouth is and selling t-shirts on bonfire.com. Our first one just says our basic hashtag owner accountability, owner standards over player standards. This one comes in the most variety of colors, and all the shirts I'm about to show you can. They're made to order. It can be a t-shirt, long sleeve, pullover hoodie, crew neck shirt. Made to order, obviously, with all the different sizes that you can pick from. The next one is our show logo. When you watch us on YouTube, when you listen to us on your preferred podcasting platform, you can now wear a t-shirt of our cover art. Again, these shirts are made to order. Pricing starts at $22.99, and all the proceeds from all these shirts I'm showing you are going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center. I'll talk a little bit more about them in a sec, because the next shirt is our alternate logo art, or cover art. This one has a goalpost and some peanuts in it. I personally think this looks best in red, but if you want it in blue, go for it. Rock whatever you want. The proceeds, regardless of your color, will be going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center. And then our last shirt is a peanut eating a bowl of peanuts, because he is nuts for the Niners, and he is thrilled for the Super Bowl. He's eagerly waiting for the Super Bowl because he is just as big a fan of the NFL as he is his 49ers. And again, all the proceeds from these shirts are going to be going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center. It's a wonderful women's shelter. We had them on not too long ago on the show. The link to our bonfire store is down there. A link for more information about Mountain Comprehensive Care Center is also in our show notes. And yeah, we just want you to have a cool t-shirt and help some women and families desperately in need. So with that, I don't know. I didn't see any other breaking news other than the Pro Bowls. We're taping this before the awards. We don't know who won any awards. Oh no, just kidding. Just kidding. We do have one semi-breaking news that we can perfectly put a bow on this episode with. And I bet we're thinking of the same thing. Myles Garrett wanting...
Yes, indeed.
Myles Garrett has requested a trade out of Cleveland, which should not be remotely surprising to anybody. I personally called it. I knew he tipped his hand when he said, I love Cleveland and I love this city, but I also want to win, and whatever I can do to help this city win. Yeah, that's by getting out. Like, I don't blame him. Don't blame him at all for wanting to. Like, you got some great coaches. That defensive coordinator's great. I always want to call him Dewey because he looks like Dewey in Malcolm in the Middle. But no, the head coach, Kevin Stefanski's a great coach. That DC's great. Just that owner, the grand trade for Deshaun Watson has blown up in their face, and they're still going to be feeling ramifications of that for years to come. So I don't blame him. He's a Hall of Fame caliber defensive end, and after 8 years, yeah, you paid your dues, man. Go ring chase. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, he had kind of mumbled about it earlier at the very beginning of the offseason, and he just followed through on it today. I mean, he had a big statement and everything today about how he wanted to leave, and
yeah, that was a prepared, like, emphasis on prepared statement.
Yeah. So I mean, like, he's good as gone. It's just a matter of them working out. I saw a big thing today where they've got to do a whole bunch of cap stuff to be able to free up the space for him to go, because to trade him, it triggers like $35 cap hit. Or a $35 million cap hit, and all this sort of stuff. So I mean, like,
I'm sure his cap hit's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, so it's going to be a big deal for them. But I mean, on the plus side, really Cleveland. I mean, it's going to hurt them to lose a Hall of Fame caliber defensive end. But on the plus side, Cleveland's going to get a haul back for him, and they're drafted number 2 this year. So I mean, they could very well have 4 picks in the top 2 rounds of the draft this coming year. They're 1, somebody else is 1, they're 2, and somebody else is 2. This
is a player they can demand a king's ransom for.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they should get a giant haul for him. Going to be really interesting to see where he goes. There's an article on ESPN that I'm going to read as soon as we're done taping here, kind of working out teams that could possibly trade for him and where he could possibly go. So
you got to have the picks and the cap. That's the thing. You got to have both of those things, which does rule out a couple people, whether it's cap or draft picks. So.
Yeah. So it'd be really interesting to see where he could end up. But I mean, they should be able to get back a tremendous haul for him. And, he's been great. So hopefully he gets the opportunity to go somewhere great and, gets a chance to finally, at least be in the playoffs. I mean, he's only been in the playoffs one time in his entire career. So, at least get a chance to make a run in the playoffs and have some success and enjoy that. I mean, by all measures, he's a good guy in the locker room and a good guy on the team and a good leader and everything. And so he deserves that chance and deserves that opportunity. And hopefully he's going to get it. So we'll see what happens. But
he's got all the helmet swinging anger out of him now.
Yeah. So, but it's going to make for interesting offseason, to watch and see what happens with that leading up to the draft, because they're certainly going to want to trade him, before the draft. So,
that is going to be. Oh, I wish DraftKings. I'm going to call this a Jimmy B bet that will never be on DraftKings. What's going to get done first? Brock's contract or Miles gets traded?
I don't know. We'll see.
I think Miles gets traded.
Yeah. He'll get traded first.
There's not the pressure to get a Brock Purdy contract done is not going to be there until if we get to the draft. That's when pressure will finally start setting in. But
you don't have to have Brock's contract done until June.
Yeah, that'll be.
You have to have Brock's contract done before free agency.
You think we have to? Okay. So now so that makes this hypothetical bet more interesting then. So, is Miles going to get traded? Is Miles going to get traded first, or is Purdy's contract going to actually be done?
When does free agency start? Does free agency start
March 15th, March 14th, one of those days? I know free agency starts right around.
Brock will get signed first. You can't sign free agents if you don't have Brock's contract done, because you don't know where all the money is going to be allocated.
Yeah.
So you have to have him signed. It's
hopefully, fingers crossed, that hopefully we sign him the week after the Super Bowl, like we did with Jimmy when we traded for him.
They're gonna have to have him signed, because you can't go out and get this guy and this guy and this guy without knowing that you're gonna. Yeah, you don't know if you're gonna allocate 50 or 60 million to Brock. You just don't know, unless you already know in your mind, I'm gonna pay this, and this is all I'm gonna pay, and then you have this much left in your sandbox left to play with, and you're gonna play in this little sandbox. Then I guess you can be okay, but that seems like a very foolish way to move forward on it in my mind.
What they're gonna do, and then we can get out of here. What they're gonna do, I guarantee it, is his cap hit is going to be $1.5 million or $2 million. You'll see on Spot Track, it's going to be prorated signing bonus, which in reality, he gets the signing bonus all up front, but for cap purposes, it's spread out over the 5-6 years, however long.
Yeah.
But his cap hit they're going to do their damnedest to keep him under a $15 million cap hit for the first 2 years. And then it's going to be 60, 65, 70.
Probably.
It's got to be something like that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say Brock first.
I think, I don't. God, okay, well, you called my bluff. I really don't know. It could go either way with John. You know this.
Yeah.
Going on 8 years with him, it could go either way.
Yeah. I say Brock first. Brock before free agency.
All right. I like that. And with that, guys, we'll be back on Friday. James will still not be with us, but we will preview the big Superb Owl. We'll have a Superb Owl parlay. It's going to be our last hurrah before recapping the big game, and either the Interval Empire continues on, or
James is really happy.
Yeah, or James saves the world. Really.
Yeah.
But we'll be back on Friday for that, our big Super Bowl parlay and preview episode. And our outro music is River Road by Justin Muth. We'll catch you all on Friday.
Later, y'all.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way you whine and cry.